Hi traders, welcome to Elite Currency. My name is Chris, and this video taking a look at the Forex market analysis and potential trades of the upcoming week. So Friday, the 1st of September, we had NFP data, earnings data, and of course unemployment rate in the US, and those were not so good for the dollar, in fact, but they had a limited impact, and the euro dollar still moved down eventually after moving slightly up. So we can see that ultimately August ended up with a bit of a wick at the top of this candle. We have a lot of August candles to look at, a lot of monthly candles to look at, and that's good info, and I definitely recommend that. We'll not look at all the monthly candles in this video, but it's definitely good practice. And you can see that there is a bit of a wick here, so not a strong bullish candle like we had in July. And in July, of course, we were looking for a retracement to continue, which happened. So this is a bit of an indecision. However, when we take the context of the fact that price is showing strong candles like this, I think that overall, of course, the momentum is still bullish. Price also broke above the resistance, as you can see here as well, and basically still in a strong upside. Last week, though, despite the basically weak NFP, the euro dollar did end up with a bearish candle. So that could be a bit of a warning sign that a larger retracement is in the making. So I put a fib from here to here, and looking basically for price to make a retracement. One of the bouncing spots could be the 23.6 fib and the moving averages that I use, the 21 EMAs. The next bouncing spot could be the 38 and then the 50 fib. And I personally don't expect it to go further, but you never know. Then the next one would be the 61.8. So a bit of retracement here possible. Yes, I think the euro dollar could make a retracement. But for that retracement to happen, price would need to basically kind of hit the 23.6 fib, show a weakness, and then break lower like this. And then we'll have to see how price responds to these support levels. All right. So I don't think the downside is that attractive at this moment, considering that support is very close at 117.80. But on lower time frames, there could be on Monday or Tuesday a bit of retracement and a bit of a fall down to the 23.6 fib. And then we have to see how price responds there and whether price is able to break through this support to go lower. In any case, I'll be looking for a bounce here, I'll be looking for a bounce here, and I would be looking for a bounce here. I think those are bouncing spots. And if price breaks below the 23, there's a small trade there and a small trade there. So those are breakouts to the downside. Typically, though, I think that the retracement potential is limited. If you look at the moving averages, the 21 is very nicely respected, as you can see, right? So it might do that right here as well. So 117.50, 117.75, I think could be a bouncing spot. But there is some space until price gets to that level. And you can see that there could be an ABC correction, as I was indicating in my wave analysis, and indeed the 61.8 fib nicely holding. So if price were to make a little bit of correction like that, there is space down to the minus 272 target. It would need to break below this trend line, basically. And on the hourly chart, we can look at that. And you can see moving averages are kind of cluttered here. Not a great environment for trade. But ultimately, if it breaks this support trend line, I think that there could be on a lower time frame, like the 50-minute chart, a break, pullback, continue down to 117.50. And here, I might be looking for some potential bounce. I wouldn't trade right at the target, but if there's some bullish candlestick patterns on the 4-hour chart or a hook back on the hourly, it could be worth trading to the upside and seeing how far it could go. If there is an ABC correction at the target, then more downside is possible once the wave C reaches its target. And of course, when price breaks below the support zone, then we have a potential move down to that 38.2 fib I mentioned just a while ago. So up, down, basically is possible if we get the 3-wave IBC up here. In the intermediate, though, basically an upside could find rejection, and the downside could find a break downside could find a target to the 117.50. Now the euro dollar is just one thing. The pound dollar is moving up as well, and you can see that it's in a bullish channel, and that price is basically stopped at the 38, and I'm expecting an ABC correction. That is so far indeed happening, but the question is how far we'll see push up. And I think that this is a correction because this is a strong momentum. Price is in a is in an uptrend channel. So technically speaking, the confirmation is when price breaks this bottom and the channel, and then there's space down to the minus 272 target and the minus 61.8 target. Those are breakout trades to the downside right here. But because of a head and shoulders potential, I think the 61.8 fib at around or the 50 fib at around 130, 131 is a resistance zone as well. So there could be shorts. If price breaks above it, there could be longs up to 132 and of course above 132.50. So those are the zones I'm looking for. Let's zoom in now to the 4-hour chart. And you can see that price is moving to the upside slowly but surely. In the hourly chart, it's a bit choppy, but looking at this looks more like an ABC actually, if you look at the hourly chart. So what could happen is there could be another ABC. This could be an expanded wave B, for instance, and this could be a wave A, and this could be an A, B, C within wave B. Let me do that in red. So once price gets back down to about 128.50, it could be a flat correction. There could be 5 waves in this case. In fact, there could be 5 waves down like this, finishing around this bottom. It could be a bit lower as well, and there could be another bounce to really finish that wave C. In that case, when we look at the 4-hour chart, right, this could happen and move down to challenge the bottom and bounce back up to hit to hit these deeper fibs and then move down again. So pretty similar basically to the euro dollar. A lot of ups and downs, I know, but there is a wave logic behind it. The euro pound, by the way, had a strong monthly candle. Weekly candle was bearish though. So on a daily chart, I think pretty much good momentum, but we are getting a correction. Price has been above the 21 EMA for very long. So I do think that the 38, no, not the 38, because look at this bearish candle. This bearish candle is very, not only bearish, but has a close near low that is challenging the 38. So I do think that the 38.2 fib will break and price might make a retracement about halfway that candle and then fall. But I think the 50 fib could be a bouncing spot, or the 61.8. This moving average zone, I don't think will break that easy. I think there will be a respect for that level and then a bounce, and we'll have to see how price responds to that bounce. Will there be an ABC up? Then there could be another move down. All right. So ultimately, I think that this is too strong of a candle. I don't think the 38 will hold, but the 50 could, and the moving average zone. So on the 4-hour chart, you can see strong momentum here. So there's a little bit of space from 91.50 to 91. Maybe an extension to 90.60, but then there should be at least a 3-wave move up again. Let's take a look at the hourly chart. And it looks like there could be indeed a 5th wave still possible. If this is a 3rd wave, and this is a wave 1, 2, 3, then it looks like a 4th and a 5th of a wave 5. All right. Now you don't need to use waves to be a technical trader or even a SWOT trader, even though SWOT is based on simple wave analysis. But that's the whole thing of it. We simplify it so it becomes actionable and we don't get bogged down in too much analysis. All right, dollar yen, monthly chart. Well, wick at the bottom, but ultimately a doji in a triangle at this moment, although bullish momentum, I think, is still dominating. On a weekly chart, we can see that price is in a range. You can see that a bit better perhaps on the daily chart with a range like this intact. So price needs to break below the support line, which it tried to do last week, but it didn't. And there would have been this breakout trade available, but it didn't break. We had a big bullish candle. Maybe the Bank of Japan stepped in, who knows. But in any case, there's a big bullish candle. And now I think that considering this bullish action, well, a breakout here, break pullback, continue to the top again, the resistance trend line and the top of the range would seem appealing if we get the break. So we'll have to see. Break upside is interesting, or price would have to break all the way down back here. On the 4-hour chart, it looks like momentum as well. So personally, if price does get to the 61.8 or the 78, I think those are interesting bouncing spots too, by the way. But ultimately, the breakout is the most interesting, although it's a bit choppy chart, to be honest, on the dollar yen. Let's move over to the AUDUSD, basically, well, indecision candle, but strong bullish candles before that. So I think that the upside is still dominant. Bullish candles here on the weekly, a bit of retracement as well. I think next week is going to be important for the Aussie. It will have to break this top. Otherwise, the upside is a bit of a danger because of the time factor. Then the uptrend will take too long to pan itself out, to develop, because this is ultimately quite a big correction. So next week, I would like to see it. If by next weekend it doesn't break this top, I would probably be a bit skeptical about the upside. There could be a bigger correction back downwards. So in any case, you can see a ascending wedge pattern, as you can see, chart pattern, which is bullish, and if it does break above resistance, pulls back, continues, there is a good chance that the Aussie might make that breakout. It is struggling to escape these moving averages, but maybe now it is finally making the upside. Last week, or on Wednesday, I think we were talking about the fact that it could make a correction first. It did that, and now it bounced. So let's see if it is able to break above 80, which is the reason why it's stopping here, by the way. It's the psychological round level of 80. Let's see if it can break above that. All right, the Kiwi bearish candle on the monthly. Weekly is showing bearish momentum. The daily candle is basically in a downtrend, I would say, after breaking through the support line. And on a 4-hour chart, we see that the price broke below this correction. So on a 4-hour chart, I think it looks good for a downtrend. And then on the hourly chart, I think that price is pretty much in a good position. And you can see the Kiwi also in a good position towards the Euro and New Zealand. We'll talk about the Pound New Zealand and the Euro New Zealand in a second. I think that this breakout is looking good. And then I'll do a recap because I know I'm looking at a lot of pairs. I think a breakout here looks good. I think the Kiwi might be pretty good setup with a break and a pullback and continue like this. So a setup here a bit early, but maybe the next one even better for the Kiwi downside. Targets, in my view, well, and you can see here that there was a good breakout on the SWAT as well, by the way, which is the system I use for trading. And I think that the target, maybe 70, the psychological round level. Of course, you can always use fibs as well and put a fib, for instance, from here to here to see how far this can extend. And we just hit the 272 target. So yeah, minus 61.8 target could be 70. Looks like a good breakout to me. Dollar CAD also looks interesting because basically good sturdy downtrend on the daily. Weekly has a bearish candle, daily downtrend, and a rejection at the moving average band. So the 4-hour chart, everything is aligned for the downtrend. So I think that if price makes a pullback to the moving average, makes a turn, it could be a good trade. You might want to look at trendline breaks, or if you're using SWAT, you can just look very simply at the candles like arrows or the candles, and I think that this is set up good for continuation. What I would be doing is basically using the Wiz tool for downside targets here, and you can see that this is level 1, 2, 3. Below level 3, it's the most interesting, down to 4 and then down to 5. So if it makes a hook back to the 4th and the moving average, and then the target, well, 122.80 is the 5th level, and I think that's an interesting zone on the dollar CAD, and is in the top. Dollar CAD and New Zealand dollar are in the top of my list of trades, potential trades, basically, regarding the space and the structure for this week. Gold, bullish candle, bullish weekly candle, breaking up, monthly bullish candle as well, daily in an uptrend, break of the top again. So anyone who took the trade upon the break here, for instance, or maybe here, doing well, and I think that probably space to continue. Let's take a look at higher time frames to get a bit of a feeling for that, how much space there is left. And you can see some resistance tops around 1375, 1400. That will be an important level, of course, as well. But if price breaks above that, and we can put a fib from here to here, then you have the space to 1460 and 1570. So 1500, of course, around level 2. So a little bit of space left here. On the hourly chart, we can take a look how the structure is looking like. And it's a bit of an extension, but these things can push long. So I'm not sure if there's a trade right now. I think that at the moment there was a trade here. I would probably need price maybe to make some kind of pullback first, maybe dip below the 21 EMA and then dip above it and pull back and then use the 21 EMA, something like that. A bit complicated, I know. It's just that the structure is struggling a bit here with a little bit of a rising wedge. So I'd like to see a bit of a deeper pullback and then the confirmation of a continuation. All right, Euro Yen and Pound Yen, maybe not that interesting at this moment. I think not that great of a structures here. It's struggling to break through this resistance with some indecision daily candles and a 4-hour chart. Well, ultimately, though, I mean, it is looking like a bear flag, and it is an uptrend. If you look at the moving averages, they are aligned to the upside. So look at that, and you can see basically a bull flag, and price did not hit the long-term moving average on the 1 hour chart either yet. So it could be a good breakout if price breaks above 130, 130 here. Break, pullback, continue. Might be still an extension possible here on the euro yen. Maybe a bit slower, but yes, could be a possible continuation on this pair if it breaks. The downside, well, at this moment, on a 4 hour chart, perhaps, but I would need to see basically price break with a good candle, pull back, fail to break above the 21 EMA, and then it could move back to the long-term moving average. Something like that for downside. But at this moment, looking like a bull flag. Basically, pound yen is showing a bit of a ascending wedge, I would say. Flat top, but higher lows. Daily chart is showing some good bullish momentum after the range bounce here, and it is in a range at this moment. 4 hour chart is a bit of an indecision because it looked like an ABC, and that could end potentially this, and it could be a downside. However, price made a downside, but then bounced up again. So I think that if price breaks above 143.40, that could be a good signal that more downside is not likely. At this moment, the structure is a bit choppy, I would say, right? Made a good downside, but ultimately then reversed very quickly again. Not a big fan of this euro yen and pound yen at this moment. I would probably just keep an eye on a trend line like this. If it does break through that, that could be an early sign of a deeper correction, at least to retest these bottoms. If it breaks, let's see, I would probably need to see a new break, pullback, continue. I would need to see a wave 3 here, and then see some wave 4, and then a wave can trade the last wave 5 in a way. At this moment, this wave 3 could push a lot further than 143.40. If it is a wave 3, let me put the Wiz levels on this bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if it is a wave 3, it could push all the way to here and here. So there's plenty of space left. I would like to see a good break, some pullback, and then a continuation. Something like that for the pound yen before I would trade that. All right, the EURUSD and is looking like a big, well, first of all, big bearish candle on the weekly chart. And is looking like a bit of indecision here. I'm not too interested in this pair at this moment, but just too choppy at the moment. Ultimately, though, if there is a weak bear flag, there could be a continuation to the downside, just looking at the hourly chart. But not that interesting. Pound, odd, also a bit of indecision. I think looking at the structure, it is basically, well, testing a bottom, first of all, here. It is testing a support trend line and a lot of bottoms here too. And it's pretty choppy to the downside. So, looks pretty indecisive at this moment. Not such a good trend. I just don't like it at this point. I mean, it could make a spike up. I think that this could still be maybe a bouncing spot, or if it breaks, pull back, continue, it could retest the bottom. But ultimately, it is pretty choppy, and if it breaks this trend line, it could be a bigger breakout to the upside too. So I'm going to leave it rest for the moment. Euro New Zealand, I do think it's interesting. Strong bullish candle, as you can see. Weekly chart in an uptrend, daily chart in an uptrend, 4 hour chart in an uptrend, and 1 hour chart in an uptrend. So does it mean that price has to continue right now with the uptrend? No. Despite the multiple uptrends, it doesn't necessarily mean that, but there is a chance, of course, that next week could continue, and the chance is pretty decent. There's a bit of choppiness on the hourly chart, and it has reached the 6th level. So it might retrace a bit deeper than it has till now. But ultimately, if it doesn't, there is this potential space up to 167.50 and 170. So I would probably need to see, basically a bit of a break to the upside here and a pullback, so that I know the price is back above the moving averages. Because now I see bearish candles, and it could be an ABC correction easily back down here. So that's something to be aware of. If it doesn't, make this ABC, I would need to see a break, pullback, continue on the Euro New Zealand. But if it does, it looks really great. The trend, however, on the 4-hour chart, even if it makes an ABC, is still intact. Because if you see an ABC like this, price is still retesting these moving averages, and I think they'll still be used as a bouncing spot. So ultimately, we can put a fib like this to this, and 167, 165, 164.50, I would expect bouncing spots for the uptrend continuation on the Euro New Zealand. Pound New Zealand is breaking the top as well, the resistance zone here. I should use red for that. And might see continuation too. Same kind of story here, basically. But I think I like the Euro New Zealand slightly better because of the Euro Pound, though. That is ultimately still, I think, a bit more bullish. Two other pairs that I want to add that are interesting is the New Zealand CAD. This has really traveled so far. You can see the New Zealand CAD. Look at this, really traveling in a wave 3. And if you look at that, hit the 4th level here. So I think that if it makes a mild correction here, like this, sorry about that, I'm using the wrong buttons. If it makes some kind of bear flag like this, boy, I think that could be interesting for a move down to the 5th level. Ultimately, when you look at the New Zealand CAD, right, it is flying down. It's because CAD is pretty strong. It's because New Zealand is pretty weak. So when combining this, after this bear flag break, it has been flying down, and it has been really, really strong, right? And it does look like a wave 3 as the momentum is pretty strong. So look at that, good momentum, and this looks like this could be even a further extension of the wave 3. It just looks like here in the most recent pushes, the price has even shown the most kind of downside. And you can see how beautiful SWOT is, by the way, when the trend is there. And we know when the trend is there because of the Wiz tool. Look at this beautiful break. Look at this pullback. Look at these setups. And then another setup here. And another setup, I think, probably here, if I see it correctly, with the red arrow. Beautiful setups, just on the 4-hour chart, but also on the hourly chart as well. So basically looking for a bear flag and a continue down to the 5th level at 87.25, 87.50, and now New Zealand is pretty well set up too. Let's put the Wiz tool here too. And you can see above the 3rd level. So if it makes a pullback, I think there's a good chance to get to a 111.60 and make that upside to the 4th level, and of course even extend perhaps to the 5th level, so at 113. So all in all, I like the AUD New Zealand upside. I like the Euro New Zealand upside. I like the New Zealand dollar downside. Probably it's still early compared to Euro New Zealand and AUD New Zealand, but could be soon ready as well. Although the Euro New Zealand and AUD New Zealand look a little bit better. The Kiwi is on the watch list for me. I like the dollar CAD and the New Zealand CAD, but other CADs will probably look bearish too, by the way. I like what else did I like? The Euro dollar, just not because of a swap perspective, but just from a market perspective, I think it's interesting. Pound dollar is interesting to trade. I think to keep an eye on the pound, euro dollar, pound dollar, and that's about it. I guess those are the most interesting ones, I think, in my view. Euro dollar, pound dollar, Kiwi, dollar CAD, Euro New Zealand, and AUD New Zealand and New Zealand CAD. All right, so that wraps it up. Of course, as the trading week opens, things change, things shift. Normally at the beginning of the week and about halfway the week, you can see that sometimes happen, that the sentiment kind of changes. But ultimately, I think that this is kind of the direction that the week will go. We'll keep you up to date with analysis throughout the week. And if you want more info, of course, free info and material, go to elitecurrency.com and try our ECS.start package that has a lot of goodies and a lot of tools and indicators and handouts. If you like this video, thanks for sharing, liking, and subscribing, and wish you all great trading. Cheers.